my time, and I'm not as far as I should be. I believe humor in the workplace is extremely important. There are always many cultures, many different types of people in the workplace, and I think that humor is one of the very few things that can actually bring people together. It can actually unite people. I don't really think that it can be negative, but it's only if you choose to make it negative. For the most part, I truly feel like humor in the workplace is an icebreaker. It's very, very necessary in order to keep the day going. You need a little bit of small talk, and you definitely need a little bit of humor. Let's see, question number 4. What is your understanding of systems theory? I actually feel like I've already broke down this question in my initial introduction. I went ahead and just gave a breakdown of system theory. So we'll just go ahead and go to the next question, which says, how does system theory impact today's organization? I feel like system theory gives people a blueprint of how things can go if you do these necessary steps. It definitely helps many companies out in truly understanding the employees and truly understanding what it takes to run a successful company and all of the many components around that all contribute in order to make the company work. Let's see. Name an organization that we have seen in the last 12 months engage in public conflict. I actually had two for this because I wasn't sure if my first one was an organization. I'm not really sure if Congress is considered an organization, but everything that's happening in Flint, Michigan right now definitely deserves attention, deserves to be talked about. And state officials were actually aware that the pipes were not necessarily going to produce 100% authentic water, yet because it was a cheaper option, they still chose to go with it. And in result, it has impacted many, many lives. I believe the exact number is about 9,000 children and countless adults. If you were in Michigan, you were definitely exposed. Anyone who doesn't know what's going on in Michigan, basically, it's a water crisis. I feel like water is something that we actually take for granted, and it's just extremely sad. And I think that those officials are extremely responsible for what is going on. In order to save a buck, you actually end a life, and I think that's considered murder. So on to the next. Starbucks actually had like a recent kind of crisis. I remember around the holiday time, there was an outrage. People were really upset with the Starbucks release of their cups because they didn't necessarily say Merry Christmas. But again, when you have a business that's a multi-billion-dollar business, there are so many different types of people that go to Starbucks. So I personally feel like it was in their best interest to not have Merry Christmas on there, because although Christmas is celebrated as an American holiday, not everyone celebrates Christmas. There's Kwanzaa, there's so many other different things, and you don't see a cup that says Happy Kwanzaa, so you're not going to see one that says Merry Christmas. That just kind of comes with the territory. So I think that people were a little extreme with that, but it definitely sparked controversy. Okay, let's move on. Define culture. In what ways does studying an organization from culture perspective different from traditional approaches to studying organizations? In our minds, or when creating something, we can have an idea of how we think something will be, but not until actually it metamorphs we truly see what it is, and that is culture. Culture is within an area or within a people, a conversation, the way that we choose to have conversation, the way that we choose to have lingo, the way that we choose to dress, the way that we choose to address one another. All of that is culture. And culture is so different. Everywhere you go, there's a little bit of culture, and it fuses into many different things. There are many cultures that create one culture, but that's how I define culture. Let's see. Number 8, what are the differences between viewing an organization's culture as something it has versus something it is? I find this a little complicated, but something it has, I would look at it as I don't know. Maybe okay. Let's okay. So let's revert back to the woman only taking 14 days off. That can be a culture. That can be like a cultural norm. In that company, that's something that it has. Versus something that it is. I would say something that it is would be. This one's kind of stumped me a little bit. Versus something that it is. I don't know. Honestly, I can't really come up with anything off the top of my head. But the way that I would differentiate the two is something it has is just something that's thrown in there. It's something that is an option, but something it is something that is brewing, something that regardless if you would like to admit it or not, you have done it or you have taken part of it because it's natural, because it is a part of the culture. Let's see, last question. What are the most powerful symbols you have encountered in the culture at UHG? The one thing that I actually love about UHG is that it's multicultural. There are so many different types of people, different types of professors. So there's so many things to relate to, so many things to grow from, and so many things to actually learn. And I'm pretty much over my time, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video. But thank you so much for watching. And again, I'm Sunshine Grant.